Hi, Alice here. 25 wildflowers for your garden. It's time to plan for wildflower gardens, pollinator gardens, native gardens, or just wildflowers that you want to add to your existing garden bed. Come with me while we take a mini tour of the offerings of wildflowers that Native Nursery has. All the wildflowers that I'm covering are spring, summer blooming to summer, fall to only fall blooming plants that are available. Almost all perennials and will reseed themselves that you can have wildflowers in your garden. It's a great morning to be here at Native Nursery in Tallahassee. It's a little early in the season, but many things can be planted now, late winter, early spring here in North Florida. My first area is over here. These are their 4-inch size pots, and they have wild violets, and these are a wonderful ground cover. My favorite here is the purple-eyed grass. I have these growing as a border in my circle garden, and they do really well. They bloom earlier in the spring, so for the early flying pollinators, they're a great source of nectar. There's also the Swanee variety of blue-eyed grass back here, and they're just a little bit different in terms of color, but they have the same characteristics. They do well in full sun and also afternoon shade. They will form a large clump and they can be divided and propagated. They're a good addition to the garden, and they're just green all the time, even in the wintertime. Silkgrass Aster is another wonderful pollinator plant. It has this bluish bloom and it is beautiful. Mine bloom a couple of times a year. Next to the Silkgrass Asters is the white woodland aster, and asters are great plants to be adding for butterflies and pollinators because they have that open face landing pad that many of the bees need, because a lot of bees don't have long proboscis. They're shorter proboscis, and so they need an open face plant and easy to land on and get the nectar and pollen. So these are wood aster. Wild indigo is another pollinator plant, especially for butterflies. You can see it's got a more tubular shaped flower. It will grow tall, 3 to 4 feet. So if you're thinking about placement of different plants in your garden, the wild indigo would be a taller one to put at the back of your garden bed. The woodland aster grows to 2 feet, so it could come in front of the wild indigo in the medium-sized part of your bed. The Silkgrass asters grow 2 to 3 feet, well, with the blooms, so they would be also in the medium part of your bed. And the blue-eyed grass, which is going to grow about a foot tall, would be great for the border or the front or the low-growing part of your pollinator beds. And the violets, since they're so low-growing, they could be like a ground cover in a shady area, maybe under trees or in a part of your pollinator garden that you would plant it to the very front, almost like an edging. Now, deer do graze on the violets. I've not had any deer problems with my Silkgrass asters, and they have not eaten any of my blue-eyed grass. This is an interesting evergreen ground cover that I've had in the back of the yard, and it is called golden groundsel. It does spread and form this beautiful mat, and early in the spring it has these beautiful long tall stalks come up with yellow flowers, and it is a big pollinator attractor. Lyre leaf sage I have it growing all over my yard, and I'm trying to encourage it. It has a nice purple bloom that comes up and almost like a ground cover. It's a very low growing evergreen, and the leaves have a little bit of a rust colored tint to them. So this is really a great hardy plant. Purple coneflower would be one of the taller perennials that you would put in the back of your bed, depending on how wide your bed is. Unless you're going to put maybe some miniature shrubs back there, it could go either in the middle part or the back. And it is a very tough native plant. I have not had deer problems eating my echinaceas, and they have spectacular purple blooms that come up on them. Here is the flock. They're a light shade part sun. So where the echinacea does really well in the sunlight, the phlox are a more shady. Chipola coreopsis is a specialty here at Native Nursery. This is easy to grow, and it takes a little more shade than some of the other coreopsis. And this is a coreopsis that does very well in northern Florida. It does bloom in the fall. So some coreopsis will bloom in the spring, some in the summer, and this is one of the fall blooming ones. They've got the black-eyed Susans, the Hirtas, with the size being a little smaller, foot to 2 feet, very towards the front or middle of your garden bed. Blanket flowers, about 2 feet by 2 feet, and they love full sun. They'll also grow in partial shade, but they are wonderful plants for any pollinator bed. They reseed, and you can have one plant that will then keep producing more plants. I have one, and I am digging and sharing blanket flowers with friends. I just got some of the goldenrod. This is a species that is much smaller than the usual goldenrod. Excellent pollinator plant, fall bloomer. The blanket flower blooms summer and into the fall. And I have actually some blooms coming up in the spring too. This is more of a spring, summer bloomer, blue rattlesnake master. It's great for fall, and it likes a moist area. Lanceleaf Coreopsis is smaller and can come to the front. It's already putting buds. It'll be opening into bloom in a little bit. The dotted horsenet in the monardias, and these we think of as bee balm and other plants, and lots of different kinds of monardias. The dotted horsenet, it blooms in the summer and into the fall. It's a good source nectar for pollinators, especially when they're most active here in the North Florida area and other parts of the Southeast. One of their peak times for activity is in August. They do grow 3 by 3, so they're a larger plant depending on the size of your garden. This might be a taller plant that you would put to the back, and you would have the smaller plants like the coreopsis in front, and then mid-sized plants more like the black-eyed Susan or the blanket flower in the middle of the bed. What I enjoy about Native Nursery is they have many of their special plants showcased in areas around the nursery. And this is in front area where there's parking, and they have plants under tall tree canopies. And the trilliums, they have trilliums for sale. So unusual to find them. Those are the ones that I had purchased last year, and I featured them in a video. These are the Underwood Eye, and you've got a little resurrection fern over there on a tree. It looks like white violet, as well as what we think of as the traditional growing here in this shady area. It's a lovely woodland setting. There are trilliums scattered throughout. Some other plants that will be coming up. This is late winter, and these are late winter, early spring bloomers. An informal kind of planting that may give you some ideas for your own garden. We saw this over in the demonstration area, and it's the Meadow Rue plant. It has beautiful white blooms, and it'll grow very tall. So this is definitely a plant to put in the back of your bed, but this is a shade plant. Here are larger pots of the echinacea, the purple coneflower, just to show you what the basal growth looks like. And this will get bigger. Next to this, we have an example of the Swanee blue-eyed grass that's in a larger pot. You can see how full and bushy it looks. The phlox blooming behind it, beautiful to see a bunch of them together. That's an idea for your garden, to plant your flowers in a mass so you have quite a striking color. And the Oxeye Sunflower, which is already blooming, and this will from spring until frost. So it's going to bloom off and on for your 3 growing seasons. And it's a daisy-like open face, great landing pad. Mine grow in full sun and they thrive. And because it grows 2 to 3 feet, you can either put it in the middle or the back of your pollinator bed. And here's the Lanceleaf Coreopsis. This one is the yellow and yellow. It's wonderful to be able to see it blooming here. Many buds are coming up, so these are all early spring bloomers. Bushy, and it spreads, it does reseed, and it's very easy to grow. Ground cover area, green and gold, is a native perennial, and there is an example of the color. Again, it's a yellow. Most of our perennials are either a purple, like the phlox, or yellow. Few are red. It'll bloom in the spring and summer. Here is an example of Silkgrass Aster. This is a full sun plant. Being more dry, you don't have to worry about keeping it watered all the time. It's a grass-like plant, so it would be maybe along the edging or as a ground cover, but it does have stalks of flowers that come up. And as an aster, it's got that open face landing pad that's so beloved by all the pollinators. So this is a great plant to consider, and it gives you summer and fall wildflowers. This is known as sensitive plant, and it blooms off and on from spring and summer. It does well in full sun and part shade, and this is how the plant looks. It does die back in the wintertime, but now it is coming out and it spreads. It has runners, and it's a great ground cover. The color being pink, it does attract pollinators, bees to it. A great way to reduce the turf grass that you're trying to take care of. And the nice thing about it is you can mow it. So if you set your mower to 4 inches, then you can mow this periodically. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, thumbs up greatly appreciated. Comment if you have experience with any of these plants and information to share. We all benefit. Here's some videos you may be interested in watching next. And subscribe if you've not yet subscribed. Garden Roll. See you in the next video.